Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to do this beautiful blanket. Now I made this before my granddaughter was born and I've done it in mint green. That was before I found out that she was going to be a girl. And here are some pictures. So my daughter Amy and her partner Steve did give me permission to put some pictures up of Abby. But I don't know why, but in the community page then they disappear after 23 hours and I don't know how to stop the posts from disappearing now. It's been a little glitch for me since YouTube updated their community page system. But anyway, here's a couple of pictures of Abby. She is so beautiful. She is beautiful. She's a very mild tempered little baby so far. She doesn't cry an awful lot. She's just a nice, beautiful, contented little baby. The first pictures, that was when she was born, with a picture of my daughter Amy. And the other ones are after when she was in the hospital and then a week old. I'm going to show you how to do this beautiful little stitch. Now you don't need to do it in two different colours. You can just do it in one single colour. I've done it in mint green and white. I made this before I found out that Amy was going to have a little baby girl, but so I've done it in this mint green and white. Once you've done your blanket size, you make it any size you want. Crochet it to any length that you want. What I've done is up the side, in the last loop on the side up here, I've put 2 double crochets. That's USA single crochets into each side. I've done 1 row of the mint green. Then what I did, I started in the corner and I put a double crochet. That's a single crochet if you're in the USA. I skipped 1 stitch, then I put a fan in, and my fan's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 UK treble crochets, and that's a double crochet if you're in the USA. I skipped a stitch, done a double crochet, skipped a stitch, put a fan in, skip a stitch, bring down with a double or single crochet, whatever country you're in, skip a stitch, do a fan. Do that all the way along. When you get to your corner, I just put 2 double crochets in, skipped a stitch, done the fan, skipped a stitch, and then put my double or single crochet down in there, whatever country you're in, a fan, skip a stitch, double single crochet, skip a stitch, a fan. So I'm skipping a stitch each side of the fan here. It's so simple. That's all you have to do with that. You can do this any colour you like. Any colour. You do it 1 colour, or you can do it in 2 colours. I'm going to show you how to do it in 2 colours. But if you want to do it in 1 colour, just don't change your yarn when we do this line in between here. So I'm going to show you how to do this really pretty blanket. Now if I can find, now mine's is 32 inches, and then the border I'll make it 34 altogether. Up and down the way, I've done this so it'll fit a stroller or a baby buggy if you're in the UK, a stroller if you're in the USA. It'll fit a cot as well, or a play mat. Now from the top here right along, I've done it 31 inches. I've done it 31 inches. It'll be 32, 33 once you put the borders on, if you want the border. Now if you don't want a shell border, all you need to do is put a couple of rows of either double crochet or single crochet, whatever you are in your country. In the UK it's a double crochet, in the USA it's a single, and in the And in the UK, a treble crochet is a double crochet in the USA. And that's all I did for that. You can make it any size you like. So I'm going to quickly show you how to do this stitch. So what we're going to do is we're going to make some loops. Make the loops as long as you want. It's up to you. You don't need, there's no specific amount of the loops that you need to do. So I'm just going to do a slip knot. Just push. I take that yarn there, just push it through that loop and then pull. Put it on my hook and just give it a pull and tighten it up. And that's you got your slip knot on your hook. I'll zoom in one little tiny bit. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2 and 3. Now I'm going to work into that first stitch that's there, into the first stitch. So yarn over twice and go into that first stitch. Pull through, so you've got 4 loops on your hook. Put your yarn over, come through 2 loops, yarn over, come through 2 loops, yarn over and through 2 loops. So you've got your first little loop, your first little circle. So we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Wrap your yarn around twice, 1 and 2. Now into this, you've got 2 stitches together right at the bottom of your chain. Put your hook through those 2 stitches. So it's the very corner of your loop. Pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, through 2, yarn over and through 2 loops. So do that until it's as long as you need it. That's 1, 2 and 3. Yarn over twice. Now there's my chain there. That's my first stitch. And there's the 2 stitches there on the end of that loop. And just push my hook through those 2 loops. Pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Now you make your string of loops as long as you need it. So I'll do that and I'll come back and show you what to do next. Loops all finished. Now what you just make your chain of loops the length that you need it. Now I'm going to pull the stitch up and I've got this little stitch marker. You can use a stitch marker or you can use the tail end of another colour of yarn. I've got that, a little piece of that lemon. You could use that and just thread that through your stitch and then tie it. Or you can use a safety pin, you can use a paper clip, you can use one of those little ones that you put in your hair, those little clips. Anything that will hold that stitch, just for the time being. So we're just going to leave that there. I'll get my hook and I'm going to get my next colour of yarn. So my next colour is white. This is going to look amazing with this pink and this white. I'm going to go into my loop. We're going to be working into the loop. So put your hook through the loop and just catch your yarn and pull it through the loop like that. I'm going to cross the tail end over just to hold it a little bit and do a stitch. And once you've done that stitch, you can tighten that in just a little bit. So there we go, we've got that attached inside the loop. I'm going to chain 2, that counts as my first chain stitch. So I'm going to chain another 2, 1 and 2. Now we're going to do the clusters inside each of these loops. In the UK, it's a treble crochet cluster. If you're in the USA, this is a double crochet cluster. So put your yarn over your hook and go into that same loop. and pull your yarn through. Yarn over and come through 2 loops. Leave the stitch on the hook. Yarn over and in again. Pull through. Give it a little wriggle. Don't have your stitch too tight. And pull through your 2 loops. So you've got your 3 stitches on your hook. Put your yarn over and come through all 3 stitches and do 1 chain. Now move to the next loop. So we're going to do the same in the next loop, but we'll have this stitch as well. So yarn over and into the next loop. Just right in and pull your yarn through. Yarn over and through 2 loops. Keep the stitch on your hook. Yarn over and through and pull up through your 2 loops. Yarn over through the loop again. Pull through. Pull up a little bit and through your 2 loops. So you've got 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over through all the 4 loops and then do 1 chain to tie it all in together. Move to the next one and do the same. We're going to do that all the way along, one cluster into each loop. So that's 1 stitch, that's 2 and 3, then through all the loops and chain 1. Don't do it too tight, and you don't want a chain stitch in between. If you put a chain stitch in between, your gaps are too big. So over to the next one, that's 1, 2, keep your stitches on the hook, and 3. Yarn over and pull through all 4 loops, keep it loose, doesn't need to be tight, and chain 1. So I'm on my last loop, so I'm going to do 2 of my treble crochets, keep them on my hook like this. The last one I'm going to put in the end into this corner so I have a straight edge up my blanket. So do my yarn over and I'm just going to go into this bottom part of my loop. Yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Yarn over and come through all of those loops and chain 1 to hold it in, and this is what we get. Now I'm going to pull the stitch a bit bigger. Pull this stitch a bit bigger, your pink or whatever colour it is that you're doing your blanket. You can do lots of different colours. You'll just finish off your stitch here, cut your yarn, pull it through the loop, and then you can do your little chains I'm going to show you to do and add a different colour for your clusters. Just pull that down. Now you can, like I said, you don't need to use a pin. You can use a safety pin, you can use another piece of bright coloured thread or a piece of yarn to hold that. You only need it for this little bit. Now I'm going to put my hook through my pink yarn like this. Put your yarn through, put your yarn over your hook and pull it through and pull it up and turn your work. Just pull it up so that it's up to the same height as this chain 3 here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the top of my chain and I need both those loops. I need that loop and that next loop. Just use your nails if you've got any to catch that other loop of that chain, and that keeps it nice and neat. So I've got the 2 loops of that chain of 3 at the top. Put your pink over and pull it through the top of that chain. Don't pull it too tight, you don't want this part too tight, and then just slip stitch through there. We're going to chain 4 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now in between the clusters we're going to do a double crochet. If you're in the UK, this is a double crochet. If you're in the USA or another country, it's a single crochet. So just go between into that space between your clusters, pull your yarn through and do your double crochet. Now that chain you made will make a loop for your next cluster. Chain 2, 1, 2 and go in between the next cluster with a double crochet. That's a single crochet if you're in the USA. Chain 2 and we're going to do this all the way along. Chain 2 and in between the clusters and do a double crochet. Chain 2 and in between your clusters. Chain 2 in between the next one. Now you can do this in any colour you like. Chain 2 and into there. Chain 2. This is really quick, this as well, because this chain makes this roll really quickly. Chain 2 and into the next one. Chain 2 into this last cluster here in the middle. Now what you're going to do now is you're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, take your pin out, get that out, take your pin out, now put your hook through your white. Now if you want to do your next row a different colour, this is when you'll change the colour of your clusters if you want to do different colours. You can have your chain white and then do your cluster row different colours. So all you would do now is add on your next colour and pull it through your pink. So I'm going to take my white and pull it through that pink stitch. Just tighten that pink stitch up a little bit. Now you don't need, there's no stitch here, so you don't need your pin just now. So we'll take the white and I'm going to turn my work, just spin it all around like that, pull the pink out of the way. What I'm going to do is, even though that's crossed over, don't worry about it, I'm going into that chain space. Just go right into the chain space, pull the yarn through and slip stitch. So that shows slipped into the middle of that loop, and that's where we're going to be working. We're going to be putting our clusters in these loops all the way along. So I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2 and 3. I'm going to put 2 more treble crochets into this loop space. If you're in the USA, this is a double crochet. Keep the stitch on your hook. 1 more, and now go through all 3 and chain 1. Move to the next loop and put 3 treble crochets in there, keeping the stitches on your hook to make your cluster. And through all of those stitches and chain 1. Keep your chain 1 slack, don't do it too tight, and move along to the next one. And that's it. This is so easy. Yarn through and chain 1 and do your next cluster into your next space all the way along. Then yarn over and through all your stitches and chain 1, and this is what you get. So your next row will be those chains again. You'll do those chains on the way back. So this is how it's looking just now. I love that pink and white, it's amazing together. Now I'm going into my last loop with my last treble cluster, and that. So this time I'm just going to put my 3 clusters into this space here. I'm not going to put it into the chain or anything. And chain 1. What you're going to do now is pull your stitch big, get your stitch holder or your little marker, and then just leave it dangling there. We're going back to this other end. This is what we've got. We're going back to this end and we're going to bring the pink up. Now to do this, through that third one here, 1, 2 and 3, push your hook through, then bring your yarn up, make sure it's loose, don't have it too slack, and then just pull it through there. You won't see that once we do the edge, you won't see that pink coming up there. Now what we're going to do again is we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and we're going to go into these loops, these spaces again. So a double crochet into the space, chain 2, 1, 2, a double crochet into the space, and these are the 2 rows that you'll keep repeating. If you're in the USA, that's a single crochet going into that space, and this is what you repeat over and over, because when we do the edge you won't see that. We're going to put a little chain and a cluster in there, you won't see it. So chain 2, 1, 2, and in between the next cluster, chain 2 and in between the next cluster with a double crochet. That's a single crochet if you're in the USA. Chain 2 and along, chain 2, and we're going into that in between the clusters, chain 2 and in there, all the way along to the end. And we'll pick up our white and we'll work back the other way. Chain 2, just move your pin out the way to get that last one, double crochet, chain 2, and then take your pin off, and we'll keep that till we get back the next time. Put your hook over your white, just tighten your stitches up a little bit, pull your white through the pink, so the pink's just going to sit there like that. You're going to turn your work, turn it right around, should we get the pink out the way, just pull that over there. We're going into the chain space. It doesn't matter that your yarn's there, just go in and pull it through. That pink will come out the way, and just slip stitch through, chain 3, 1, 2 and 3, and we're going to do our clusters into the pink loops again. So on this end one we only need 2 because we've got the chain there. Keep the stitch on the hook, keep the stitch on the hook, through those 3 and chain 1, move to the next loop. We'll be doing 3 treble crochets, that's 3 double crochets if you're in the USA. Come through all of those loops and chain 1. Make sure you don't do that chain 1 too tight. It's 1, 2 and 3, and through we go. 1, 2 and 3, pull through them all, chain 1. I'll work my way to the end again, and that's the 2 rows that you keep repeating. Keep repeating that all the way along. Now what I did at the end was, when I put my loops on, I just left it. I'll show you my other blanket now. So you'll just continue, just give it a little stretch out. You'll just continue like that, doing each row, and put your row of your other colour in between with your little chain. And then I would turn it and work my way down the sides to neaten it. I'm just going to put my hook through and pull my yarn through like this. Cross over the tail. I'll sew that in when I've finished, and I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2 and 3. So into this loop here I'm going to put another 2 of the treble crochets. Keep the stitch on the hook and another one. Draw through all the stitches and chain 1. What I'm going to do now, I'm going in, I'll just work that tail end in. I'm not going to do another chain, I'm just going straight into this space here. We don't need a chain because it's not a big gap to get down to that part. Come through all my stitches and chain 1 to lock them in. Now I'm going here. So I've got my yellow yarn where I went up, and I'm going in to that cluster, and that's going to hide that piece of yarn that I've got there. Just pull it round. It's 1, 2 and 3. Pull through all your stitches and chain 1. So I'm going into the next gap, and I'm going to work my way like that. I'm keeping that tail end in there. Through them all and chain 1, and we're going around that treble. 1, 2 and 3. Through all them, chain 1. So what I'll do all the way down, I'll go into the space around the cluster, into the space and around the cluster, and that'll trap my yellow in. So what's going to happen is you're not going to see it, and you're going to have these little clusters running all the way down the side. So once I've done that, I'll come back and show you how to finish this edge, and then you can do the other edge yourself. So I've got my clusters done all along the edge. Now I need to put a loop along so it's the same as either end here. I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to slip stitch down into this corner, and what it's going to do, it's just going to bring that corner around the same as this one here, just keeping it all the same. I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to turn my little blanket. In between the clusters I'm going to do a double crochet. I need to do 3 up here, and I need to do another 2 to get me over here and in between these 2 clusters. So that's 5 chains all together. Chain 2 and into in between the next ones. Chain 2 and go in between the next clusters with a double crochet. Sorry, I'm doing a double crochet. That's a single crochet if you're in the USA. Chain 2 and in between the clusters, and it's going to make that same little loop that's along here, and we'll have it running up the side as well, and it's going to keep it all the same. So at the end I just had to do a 3 chain to bring it down, and I slip stitched in, and then I done a chain of 5 up just to make that corner round the same as this one. And then it was chain, double crochet in between the cluster, chain 2 and double crochet in between the cluster. If you're in the USA, that's a single crochet. And I'm going to do that all the way along this end, up the side. And that will make my blanket all the same. So now I'm at the end, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to slip stitch down, pull my yarn through, just cut it there. I'll stitch that in later. Just pull it through that loop, and what I'll do is I'll stitch that in down into my blanket so you can't see it. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel and please click on that bell icon, and YouTube will tell you when I put up another tutorial. So until the next time, happy crafting, and I'll see you all again soon. Goodbye.